Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Just Bros podcast, where we share physical therapists and engineers' perspective on outdoor life, our field of expertise, and anything Just Bros want to discuss. This week on the Just Bros podcast, we're going to cover common mistakes people make when smoking meats with your pellet grill or whatever grill you're using, and how to become a master of the meats. We'll touch on shed hunting in Wyoming, and per usual, we'll talk a little bit of Husker football and how they're starting spring practice. But before we get to that, what's up, bro?
What's up, bro? Just hanging out in the basement, watching two baby monitors, trying to get the podcast in. So try to be consistent, try to be here, and I enjoy it, look forward to it. But yeah, I'm doing dad duty while Tiff's running some errands.
Hashtag dad so hard.
Dad so hard, bro. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it.
Heck yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Got to change the scenery here. I got set up in the shop. We'll see. Might move around, figure out what I want to do for setup. But yeah, just hanging out. Got the kids down. Hung out with Meg for a little bit. Here to record the podcast. Chat with my bro.
Cool. That's the fancy machine that's building all your stuff, I imagine, right behind you. Those are the doors.
Yeah, so that's my CNC mill back there. It's Doosan, or I think they changed their name to DN Solutions, but it's a great mill. I wish I could be running it while we did this podcast, but way too loud.
Yep. These baby monitors can get loud sometimes too, but I turn them way down. And it drives Tiff crazy, but
yeah.
It's pretty cute seeing your Labrador Retriever cuddling your 3-year-old and on the camera, and they're just best friends.
Oh, man. So. Cooper sleeps with Kesa.
Yeah, at least for a little while until he falls asleep, and then we take him, let him cuddle with us for a little bit, and put him in his kennel in the garage.
Yeah, we for a little while there, Addie went through a phase where she really needed Bruno in her room. But one night she came in, it was after midnight, probably around 1 a.m, and she said, "There's something wet in my room." And I'm so confused, Last time she came in and said something along those lines, she had thrown up. Well, Megan goes in there, flicks the light on. Bruno laid a couple turds in there, and Addie apparently got up to inspect what was going on. Touched the turds, and then decided to come tell us that there was something wet in there. So thankful that she did tell us, got it cleaned up. And
on that note, we got to tell a funny story. So last time you guys came out to visit, we put the kids down for bed and we came out, and there is a pile of dog crap in the middle of our living room. And upon further inspection, we look and we see that there's 2 types of dog poop, and one poop is on top of the other within like extreme precision, like sub-MOA precision.
It was. There's a dog poop, and then stacked right on top was another.
There's like a petrified turd from some old dog, and then there was Cooper's like standard. I guess you pooped, so I got poop on top of it.
Soft serve ice cream.
Yeah, it was like.
I think he was like, "Hey, Brew, this is my house, and only I poop in my house."
Like on command, he just squeezes one out and drops it on top of. Like, I don't even think Cooper's hit the ground. I think it was just laying on top of Bruno's. That was a weird thing. It was frustrating, but definitely had some laughs. I've never heard of that or seen that before, but I've heard of dogs peeing on each other's pee, but not pooping on each other's poop.
No,
in the house.
But I still get a chuckle out of that one.
Well,
Yeah, so long story
let's-
short,
let's-
Bruno doesn't sleep with that anymore. That's not allowed. So
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe we should easily transition from poop into food here. And so I think, spring day one of spring was yesterday. And I was like kind of shocked, I guess. Spring turkey season in Wyoming is 10 days away. I'm like, whoa, that came quick.
oh wow.
It just has been a tough winter for us, and just with the surgery and with work and with it's dark and it's cold and we got snow and a kid under a year old. Lots of challenges this winter, but spring is here, and with that comes grilling meats, and starting to enjoy your pellet grill or whatever grill you're using outside when it gets nicer out. So, what's your favorite 3 meats to smoke?
All right, I'll do them in order. Starting with number 3, it's got to be the pork butt. Always delicious, super simple. I mean, can't go wrong. Cheap. Get quite a few meals out of it, unless we have a big crowd around. So that I put that number 3. I would probably say number 2 for me is beef ribs, like the dino ribs, the big dino ribs. I've only done those a couple of times. They were amazing both times that I did it. Yeah, they're very good. They're also expensive, so that's why they're probably not number 1. It's one of 2 reasons. Number 1 for me is brisket, and one of the reasons it's number 1 for me is because burnt ends. You can get more than just sliced brisket out of smoking a brisket. You get 2 kinds of meats. You get your burnt ends, and then you get your brisket slices. So that for me, brisket's number 1. How about you? What are your top 3?
Well, the question has to be phrased meats that I've smoked, because
yeah.
I would definitely prefer a brisket cooked by John over a brisket cooked by me. I've not quite mastered it, and I've made some mistakes. And part of that's just attention, and part of that's being disciplined with things. But nonetheless, I'll kind of do the same order. So my number 3 would be ribs, pork ribs.
Pork rib?
Get a slab of them. I failed my first batch, and I've gotten better each time, and it's pretty rewarding to have a nice slab of ribs to go after and have to eat. Kind of wing my recipe. I've tried a few different things just kind of for fun, but the 3-2-1 methods worked pretty good. We can get into that later, but so 3 would be ribs. Number 2 would be prime rib. I know it's not necessarily something that you're talking about like smoking for long term, but I do like and prefer the prime rib on a smoker over the oven, hands down. And I've done more of those actually between holidays and work, Christmas parties, and just wanted to do a prime rib at my house. I've done more of those than anything, and it turned out really good. And the number 1 thing I like is actually a pork butt, and it's mostly because I can eat it all day long. I can have it in a variety of ways. It's cheap and it's good, and you can't get that quality of stuff from the store. So I like it. We usually will have one, probably 6 a year we do. And so we don't really run, we get tired of pork, but I love pulled pork nachos. I love carnitas. I like pulled pork sandwiches. So it's just a good way to get some yummy tasting meats off the grill at a good price, and all the kids like it. We have friends over, they like it, and we have a good time with it. So that's our number one, and my wife would agree with that.
Yeah, my pork butt's so versatile, and it's, like you said, pretty cheap. I always stock up whenever the stores got them on sale. I think I bought 4 when they were down. I caught them on sale for like $1.25 or a pound or so not that long ago. So I bought 4 of them, and we'd keep them on hand and use them.
Yeah, we've got a couple
so I guess,
in the freezer as well.
So, how do you prep your pork butt?
Well, so there's a mustard that's made out here in Gillette called Wyoming sauces, and it's a Miracle Mile mustard. Miracle Mile is based off the river known for its trout fishing between a couple reservoirs down here in Wyoming, and it's good. It's got a smokiness to it. It's got a spice to it. It's got a little bit of a, I don't know. It's very good mustard, and I'm not a big mustard guy, but this is a mustard that you can get on with. And so I lather it in mustard, and then I just try to get a little bit of a crust. And I've done the Traeger premixed pork. I've done just some kosher salt and pepper, and some garlic and some paprika, and I just throw some of those things on. Tried a few different things, and honestly, I just like that base being with the mustard. Throw some salts and some spices on, and I don't care what it is. It's going to taste good. We've tried a sweeter version of it, where it's a little sweeter on the outside. When we'll spray it with it's applesauce, or not applesauce, apple juice. And we'll spray it with something sweet, or we'll do a little more of a spicy side type of thing, and just kind of fun with it.
Maybe you're onto something there. Maybe you need to take some of them kids' applesauces you got sitting around the house and lather that around the outside instead of mustard. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, literally every morning I hear, "Dad, I want fruit snack and applesauce for breakfast." I'm like, all right, let's do it. Yeah, I know it would be interesting to try some applesauce on the outside. I never really have thought of that, but it'd be a way to get it sweet and have some sort of a substance left over after it kind of dries on the outside and get a little crust. I don't usually wrap it. If I do, I don't wrap it for very long.
Yeah,
and I do have it in a cooler for about 30 minutes, and that. That's nice, but sometimes I just want to eat it so bad I take it out sooner and get after it.
For those that don't know, when you say sometimes you wrap it, but usually you don't, what are you talking about when you say wrap it?
I'll wrap it in foil on the grill while it's cooking, trying to kind of get the juices to hold tight, not drip down, keep it a little juicier, maybe steam it a little bit inside the foil wrap. There's some good options for foil that make it a little easier on a big piece of meat like that. Last time, unfortunately, I was out of that foil, and I was busy, and I said, "Tiff, will you wrap it real quick?" And it's kind of like, why do we even try to wrap it? But,
yeah.
It'll turn out either way.
Yeah. Do you, how do you determine when it's done? When you're, let's take it off the grill and toss it in the cooler to rest, or I guess if you're too hungry to wait, start picking it apart.
Yeah. So I pretty much follow the Green Mountain Grill app for temperatures. Sometimes I'll ask you, like, what do you do again? And I try to get to a certain temperature. But it was like, what is the temp you always say? I don't keep track of it. That's why I always have to call you and ask, like, what do you do again? But
yeah,
what temp is that?
Well, I like to probe it, feel it, make sure it's tender. But I've got my monitoring meat probe in there, and it usually ends up coming off around like 202, 203 degrees Fahrenheit, and then getting tossed in my Yeti or something for, minimum. I like to let them rest minimum 30 minutes. I feel like it turns out a little bit better that way. But
I think it's worthwhile getting a cheapo cooler and not stinking up your nice Yeti. Personally, that's what I've done. I got this old one that I don't care if the meat warps the plastic or makes it, big stinky thing. I can wash it, leave it outside. I don't care what happens to it.
I guess I do. I do have one of those that I use when I do pork butts most of the time. It's small. It's too small for like a brisket, but pork butt, a couple of them probably stack in there just fine. And you're right. It is a perfect use for that.
Mm-hmm. What's your best pro tip for the brisket? Why do I screw it up, and why does yours taste so dang good?
Man, that list is so long. I'm just kidding. One of the things there's a number of things. One of them is trimming the fat. A lot of those briskets come with a lot of fat, and I would rather get one that came with a lot of fat than one that's pre-trimmed, because I want to trim it myself for a couple of reasons. One, I like to leave like a 1/4 inch of fat everywhere that there is fat. I don't want to cut less than that. You go under that, you're going to get a dry brisket, probably. I mean, in my experience. I'd rather have a little extra fat on there that, you can cut off and not eat if you don't want to, and have a moist brisket than
the flavor's really coming from the fat. The flavor's largely coming from the fat, and that's pretty true with any meat, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so I'll trim that. Like I said, I'm shooting for a 1/4 inch everywhere that there is fat. Now, I don't toss that fat. I save it, which I can cover that in a little bit. But save that fat. It can be put to good use. So I trim it. I let it, before I put it on, I try and get it, up to room temp, let it sit out a while, just so it's a fairly even temp throughout. Doesn't always work like that. It is what it is. Then I'll season it on all sides. My go-to is what I like to call SPG, salt, pepper, garlic.
I call it GSP, garlic, salt, and pepper.
Yeah.
Teach their own.
Yeah, you can buy pre-mixed stuff from, I think Sam's Club and Costco is where we get our Kinder's salt, pepper, garlic mix, and it's delicious.
It's good.
Easy to use. It's good on a lot of stuff, but that's where
I like it because
brisket,
it's not as fine of a grain of salt, pepper, and garlic. It's a little more coarse, which I like.
It's like a coarse grind of all that, and I much prefer that over like a really fine pepper and salt and whatnot. So I'll cover all of it with that, and then toss it on the smoker at about 225, 235. I don't know that it makes a difference, but sometimes if I feel a little rushed, I'll bump it up to 235 instead of 225, hoping that it kind of gets to temp faster. But what I've learned smoking meats is that you can't really predict when they're done when they're done. Get it on early, and then you can put it in a cooler, and it's gonna sit, and it's gonna stay hot for a long time if you've got a halfway decent cooler. So that's pretty much how I prep it. It's pretty simple. Trim fat to a 1/4 inch, save the fat, season it with your preferred seasoning. I like salt, pepper, and garlic.
Heck yeah. No, it's a good seasoning. I use it as my standard if I don't want to be too creative. I don't go too far away from that anyways. But maybe I'll send you some Wyoming sauces, Miracle Mile mustard, and you see what it's like on top of a brisket.
I might have to try that. I don't know. I get pretty stuck in my ways.
Yeah, when you know
We'll
it,
see.
when you know it's good, you want to rock it again. But
Yeah. So then
yeah,
I'll leave it on the smoker. And I typically wrap brisket. I don't have to. I've had good luck wrapping it. I don't like to wrap with foil though. I like to wrap it with butcher paper. It sort of protects it from the heat some. It doesn't necessarily steam it, I don't think, as much as foil, and you keep some more of that crispy bark on the outside. So I'll wrap it at about 165 when it hits 165 degrees. I'll pull it again. I'll pull it off when it hits about 195 if I'm going to make burn ends. I'll cut the point off from the flat, which I can't describe how to do that. You gotta Google it, but I'll rewrap the flat, put that back on, and then I'll take the point and chop that up into 1-inch cubes or so, and then I'll put that in a little aluminum pan or something with some barbecue sauce, butter, and brown sugar. Cover it and put it back on the smoker. Those are your burn ends, and they will be delicious. So
Yeah.
then, I don't know, 203 is like my magic number with the briskets. I pull them off at 203, and it works for me every time. Well, not every time. Most of the time now. I'm decent at it anymore. Then the best part about having them burn ends is that wrapped brisket will go in the cooler. You got to let it rest. I mean, 30 minutes is what I think. Let it rest. But while that's resting, you've got burn ends to munch on. And they are delicious. You can put them on a cracker. Just, I don't know. We usually
Put
get
them in your
toothpicks out
mouth?
and just
yeah.
yeah. You grab some toothpicks and just go to town on some burn ends.
Heck
So that's how I
yeah,
do
well,
brisket.
like I said, the spring is officially here. I'm excited for it. Grilling season's upon us, and shed season's upon us. And I'm not a big shed hunter. I know there's lots of big time people that spend quite a bit of time hunting for sheds, mule deer, whitetail, elk, and Wyoming's a good place to do it. There's lots of public land, lots of places to go stomp around, do some hikes, see what you come up with. The people that really know what they're doing know where the elk winter. Typically, they've had pretty good success in the past. A lot of people have private land access that helps. And historically, it hasn't been a big problem when you go out and about any time of year and you stomp around and you look for some sheds. But there are some areas that you want to look up. There's some areas that are off limits, primarily because they start calving this time of year and they start having their babies, and you don't want to push them off of that. It's kind of their little safe place. And so there's actually some new rules and regs that are going to be out this year, I think, or maybe it'll wait till next year, that are going to kind of prohibit some shed hunting, because it's becoming pretty trendy and a thing that people like to do. And that's not, I'm always happy when people are doing stuff in the outdoors. I'm always happy when people are being active, getting out and enjoying outside Mother Nature stuff. But we do have to go about it the right way. And
Yeah. I agree. I do think too, any activity like shed hunting, hunting season's only so long. Shed hunting's one of those things that, sort of, I guess you could, in a way, say extends your hunting season, gets you out in the field, something to look forward for, something to prep for. So shed hunting in Wyoming is a little different than Nebraska, from what I've read. Is it am I off base here, or is there a shed hunting season, or like an open date in which you can actually, that you're not supposed to hunt sheds on public ground until a certain date?
I believe there is a season. I believe there is. I haven't obeyed the season necessarily when I've gone out, but I haven't necessarily been intentionally shed hunting yet. I haven't like set out with my dog and gone looking for sheds. And it's usually not until April when I'm out and about and I'm kind of like, let's go for a hike. I'm getting stir crazy. Let's go get out there. And then I stumble upon something. I'm not truly like looking for
You're not
sheds
shed.
necessarily.
You're not shed hunting. You're just enjoying the outdoors and stumble upon a shed.
Right. And that would hopefully keep me out of trouble too, if I was in trouble at all. But yeah, what am I going to do? Leave the shed there? I'm just going for a hike on public land. So there's a little bit of that. And with kids lately, it hasn't really happened. But I have been able to pick up a couple nice chalky sheds. A couple of them I've taken to the clinic. And one of my patients actually showed up and said, "Where'd you find this shed?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you, secret spot." and I told her where I went, and she's like, "I might have the match to that one. I was just out there too." And I was like, "Really?"
Cool.
So she brought it in, and I'm like, "I'll be darned. It very well could be the match, but I ain't giving mine up," and she didn't give up hers. And cool. We found a match, but.
Yeah, that is cool.
She goes shed hunting on her horse and just rides her horse around.
Oh man,
and has a good view.
That sounds like that'd be basically like cheating.
Yeah,
get a good elevated view. Don't have to walk. Don't have to carry it.
Got turbos on, man.
Yeah. So that's I guess a question I had is your modes of transportation on this public land. It's you're walking. Or you're riding a horse, right? Is there?
Yeah.
Can you ride ATVs or?
You can, but you got to think of it this way: the elk aren't going to be dropping their tines and dropping their antlers on highly trafficked areas. So you're still going to have to kind of do some hunting-ish style of hiking. You want to get away from roads. You want to get on a sunny side of the slope, so you don't have those cold, snowy banks. They're not spending their time on the snowy, shady side of the hill or the mountain. So, and oftentimes in the mountains, the snow is going to be too deep. You're going to have drifts up there, and so you're likely to be more on the sunny side, on the south-facing side of the mountain or hills. And
at a lower elevation.
And lower elevation too. Yeah, you got to think kind of like if you're hunting elk in January, February, March, where would they be? They're going to be catching sun out of the wind on the south side, probably low areas, hopefully places where grass is still exposed. They still have to eat. They still got to stay warm and protect themselves. So those are all the common things I would look for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will have elk migration patterns down, and they'll know, like, oh, this is exactly where they're going to be. And I know where this guy's dropped his antlers 4 years in a row. That's not me. That's not the average person.
Those are the hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. You get into it, but I don't have that much time. And this is a time of year where I'm working quite a bit more, and with kids, I'm happy to do little hikes, but I'm not doing a 4 mile off the road hike with anybody. And
yeah. So you think a flatlander like myself, say I wanted to come out and go shed hunting, I didn't have a hookup on, go here, go there, blah blah blah. You say just maybe do some online scouting, public land. Lower elevation, south side of the hill, mountain. Is there anything else I should be looking for?
I would Google, because the rules are going to be changing in a lot of ways, I think. So I would Google, and I'd stay up to date with the regs. I would do some Onyx, e-scouting, or whatever online platform you like to use. I have Onyx. I've started with it. I've got all my points, my locations that I've pinned, and it's kind of helpful for perspective. But look for places, that aren't above 7,000-8,000 feet. That they're a little bit lower than that. They won't catch as much snow. They're going to kind of go up and down from the meadows back up into the trees for protection. If they have a path, they're going to use it a lot. If they have a meadow, they're probably going to use it a lot. And a lot of these places, they know where the safe place is. And it's a matter of getting there or getting close to there so you can maybe catch up, on some of their sheds that are dropping. Cool thing is, I think, is the bigger sheds are going to drop sooner because they weigh more, and it allows them also to start growing sooner. So we should have all the sheds should be dropped by now. It should be pretty close to now, and maybe some of the younger ones, the spikes, are still holding on, but they should largely be dropped by now. I haven't been to the mountains but more than 30 minutes in the last couple months, so didn't see any elk. But as you climb up into the mountains, there's not a ton of snow, the first bit, but you get up there and there's a decent amount of snow. There's no food for them really up there. No reason they'd be up high.
So I guess, another thing someone that hasn't done before should probably be got their hiking boots, a pack that can carry some heavy elk antlers, and be prepared to do some walking. Yeah? Yeah,
I think you'd be prepared to do some walking. I think you got to take your binoculars. I think you got to kind of think, where would the elk want to be hanging out? What's their getaway? Jumping. A lot of things that I didn't think about, but I've picked up on, is any fence they're going to have to jump. There's a good chance, because that's jolting, and that's going to knock them loose a little bit. So you could follow a fence line for a while, have better odds. You could follow a creek bottom and see if they're jumping over a creek or something. There's lots of things to think about that play into it, but I'm no expert. I just know there's people out there that really love it, spend a lot of time doing it, and they typically have quite a bit of success.
It seems like a lot of fun and a great, springtime activity.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen is you come out to Wyoming, you stomp around some public land, you get to explore a little bit, and you find something you can take home. So,
absolutely.
I don't think you're going to come out here and make a kill on your first time, but I think you could definitely come out and have some limited success and learn something and get a sense for how to do it better next time, just like hunting.
Yeah, and just enjoy the great outdoors. Kind of brings me to another springtime activity that we get excited about, which is spring Husker football.
Yeah, buddy.
What does my Husker guy have for me today?
Well, we're definitely going to talk about Raiola, but number one thing is spring practice started yesterday. Practice number 2 is today. Coach Rule came out and said there's some people that are suspended, and hopefully they work themselves back onto the team. He's got to get some stuff academically right, probably. Maybe they broke some team rules, but I don't think they're going to be gone, and that would be Anthony Grant and Tommy Hill. Anthony Grant played a big role. Tommy Hill, not so much, but he's fast and he's athletic. We're hoping to find a place for him, type of thing.
And I don't. No Anthony Grant, I think, would hurt us a lot, but I think you're probably right.
I think yes and no.
Academic thing.
Yes and no, because I think the running back room is pretty solid. We haven't had people bail into the transfer portal this year. We got A.J. Allen, who as a freshman started some games or played significantly in 4 games last year before getting hurt. And then people are probably forgetting a little bit about Gabe Urban, who's the first true freshman to start opening day ever at the history of Nebraska. And he looked pretty jacked in his interview. If you watched his interview, he looked good. And he's 6 foot 224 and one of the fastest guys on the team is what it sounds like. And
wow.
Matt Rule called him, he's the battering ram that every coach wants to use in the fourth quarter to close games. Like that sounds like something all of Husker football wants to hear.
Yep, we need that.
And so I think there's I think it's a strong group. I think between, Grant coming back's a cherry on top. I think Gabe Irvin and A.J. Allen have some big upside. I think we kind of know what we get with Grant, which is tough runner. I think we like that. But, I think it's one of the strengths of the team, probably. Contrary would be the weakness of the team is the O-line. You can only get so far. And as a running back with an O-line that's not Big Ten worthy, you can't push around other Big Ten teams, and you're probably not going to run the ball.
No.
So, but I think the number one thing that's pertinent this week is this weekend's recruiting visitors we have. We have a list of like 25 guys that are coming in. Big time weekend. 15 of them are in the top 300 of On3's top 300 players, and like 5 of them are in the top 10. So we got the number one quarterback, number one O lineman in the country, number one D lineman in the country, all coming this weekend to listen to what Matt Rule has to say. I don't think we've had a recruiting weekend like this ever. Part of it is I'm going to be a little bit optimistic here. Part of it is I think Raiola's doing some recruiting. I think you can't tell me that this would happen without the number one quarterback saying, "Hey guys, you need to come take a look at Nebraska. Hey guys, hey, best receiver, best O lineman, best D lineman. Hey, like you guys, I'm probably coming to Nebraska.
Let's win. Come with me and let's win championships."
Yeah, I think there's some, and then if we need any more hype on the Raiola thing, I learned today that Dylan Raiola's grandparents are coming in from Hawaii to the spring game.
That's kind of a big deal.
That seems like a stretch of like, something going to happen during the spring game? Is he going to make this big announcement at the spring game? Like, he's got visits after our spring game, but he's the quarterback of the class. You kind of want an event like that to be some momentum. I can only imagine what would happen if he announced during the game what the crowd would do, what the TV broadcasting would do, and how much momentum you could generate from something like that.
What other recruits would be there that would be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's hop on this train.
And I know for sure he's been recruiting people to Nebraska already. And I don't know to what extent that is, if that means, hey, you got to take a peek, you got to take a visit. It's a great place. He's definitely not talking bad about Nebraska. And part of me thinks his dad's super passionate about Nebraska. Okay, his boys grew up in the stadium. And then he shows up to Nebraska for a basketball game courtside, gets Trev Albert's tickets, and the fans chant his name. Like, he didn't have to do that either. It's almost like he's teasing us just a little bit, and I think he wouldn't do that if he wasn't, like, pretty sure he's coming. What a nasty thing to do to a fan base who's dying so hard to have positive winning culture, get a quarterback of this caliber. I just think he would it's kind of like when you're dating a girl and you know you don't want to marry her. Like, you probably need to not toy around with her anymore. Like, at some point, it's reckless. So, anyways, I think it's on that level. I think we're literally in the front seat waiting for this to all go down. And if it does, he will be pivotal in bringing more talent in. He's likable. He's talented. He's ranked high. He's communicating well with others. I think he's got a chance to pull other people with him.
Well, I mean, any program that can pull the top recruit in a class has to make other recruits say, what's so special? Why did he choose there? You know?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's exciting. And the spring game's getting close, which also means we're getting close to you guys coming down to Lincoln, which I am super excited about. And also, we're going to have to do, at least one in-person podcast while you're here.
Oh, yeah. For sure. For sure. A couple other small little points is Heinrich Harburg is apparently one of the top 5 fastest players on the team and ultra athletic. And so if he doesn't land one of the top 2 or 3 spots at QB, he'll probably move a position because they want to get some athletes like that on the field. I thought that was a little surprising to me, but
we need athletes like that on the field. But, at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he made that top 2 or 3. Like I said, I watched him at the spring game last year. I thought, that he did great. He threw the ball great. I was impressed with him.
I was pretty hopeful
with how well he did.
Yeah, I agree. And then they're keeping Thomas Fedoni on kind of limited participation. They're like, we're going to take you all the way to the season, man. We want to make sure you're healthy for the season. I think for 2 reasons. When you're hurt, you can't be the leader of a team, right? Like, you can't be the heart and soul of a team when you're not able to walk on the field. And he is the heart and soul of the team. He's a captain appointed by Matt Rule. He bleeds Nebraska. He's ultra competitive and ultra talented. I think they want that to help him, like, allow him to push that culture. And then we want to see him play on the field, frankly. He's number 1 tight end in his recruiting class. And the other guy we have is the number 1 tight end in his recruiting class. I mean, we have a chance to have a pretty impressive tight end room. We just got to make sure they're healthy during the season. So I think it's cool they're managing in that way. An ACL tear, is 9 months with good care. Then you have another ACL on top of it. Well, 9 months, maybe a little longer. And now they're gonna give him quite a bit of time to feel good about his knee, and I think that's smart.
I don't think there's any sense in rushing it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, good stuff. I'm always like hearing my Husker stuff from you. So,
heck yeah,
got my week's worth of Husker stuff in.
Yeah, buddy.
This is bass backwards because you're in Wyoming and I'm right here in Lincoln.
Hey, Sean Callahan is my source, and anytime I'm on the Great White Throne, I'm checking out what Sean Callahan's saying on Twitter. So. It's at least a couple times a day anyways.
Yeah. While you're there doing that, did you find anything interesting out this week, or is it just Husker football when you're doing that?
It's mostly Husker football. This week, most interesting thing. Let's see. Oh, man. This is more for comedy. Did you know that you shouldn't buy a gun on your wife's birthday for yourself?
Yes.
You did. Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. Well, it's I wish I could set a poll up for the 23 people that listen on whether or not they think that's a good idea or not, because I didn't have to do it to know that it's not a great idea. But she's happy
Circumstance
now,
was a little unique. Yeah. She had a whole
It
birthday
was
week,
unique.
by the way.
Yes, that would not surprise me. That's how it goes. They get a birthday week. We get our birthday
Hour.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You got a cool gun though, so
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. Like, it was worth it, 100%. But I did apologize and suck up quite a bit on her birthday, but and took her out to eat for the third time that week with the kids and all. I was putting out effort. I'm a good husband. I try.
hopefully some
Got her a
ice cream
card
calf,
from
too.
the kids too. Oh,
No, that's a plus right there.
yeah, she liked that.
But
Yeah. What about you?
I
Interesting.
I got something interesting. So, we try to limit how much TV Addie watches, but she likes to watch some stuff at night and kind of snuggle up on the recliner. And so I tell her that we're going to watch something educational. A lot of times we'll pick something from Nat Geo with animals that's on Disney Plus. The other day we were watching one, and I learned something every time. The most interesting thing I've learned for a while on one of those, though, was the other day. They're talking about crocodiles, and they said, they can get up to be 2,000 pounds, 1 ton. But the interesting thing about crocodiles is they can eat up to half of their body weight in one sitting. So that 2,000-pound crocodile could consume 1,000 pounds of meat in one sitting, and then can control its metabolism, slow its heart rate down to 3 beats per minute, and not have to eat for 2 years.
2 years?
2 years. Said they could, if it gorges like that, it doesn't have to, but it could, find somewhere, slow its heartbeat down to like 3 beats per minute, and it could survive like that without food for 2 years.
That's incredible.
Which just is, it's mind blowing to me. I don't understand how that's possible, but whatever. That's my fact. And it's crazy, but I enjoy my Nat Geo time before bed.
I don't think I could eat a whole brisket and survive how uncomfortable that would be.
Oh man, no, that'd be terrible.
And that's not even close to our body weight. Well,
12 pounds or so.
That's cool. That is cool. Well, thank you all for your support and listening. Hopefully you still find us entertaining to some degree and maybe educational. In the future, we'll be sure to hit on some Husker football and any other topics that come to mind. If you want to hit the like and subscribe button, we'd appreciate it.
I do have a quick bonus, 2 bonus items for those that are still listening. One that I forgot to touch on, and one that I just, sitting out in the shop got me excited. One is those fat trimmings from your brisket. Put them in a pot on really low heat and render them down, filter that out, and make beef tallow. It is fantastic for cooking with and very delicious, and in my opinion, seems like it makes sense that probably a little healthier for you than those processed seed oils to cook with. You're paying for that fat, so you might as well make something of it.
Yeah.
My second item, which you know about, is voila, my chassis.
Booyah.
I still have a little bit of work to do to get these to a finished product, but we are close. Going to have updates on the website soon, and hopefully before the month is over, I'll be able to open it up for pre-orders.
Heck
So,
yeah.
There you have it. Thanks again, folks, though, and See you next week.
Later.